Hey dudes, welcome back to Films Presents RC. Paddy with you here again. We've got the Injora build on the bench, and today we're going to be swapping out this silver 27 turn Tamiya motor with, if I can find it, this unit, which is an Injora branded. It's obviously been rebranded just with a sticker, but it's a 550 motor. 3510 as you can see, but it's got a 3.2mm shaft on it, which is perfect for me because when you're running a planetary box you can't use a 5mm shaft sometimes because you haven't got the clearance in the casing itself to fit a 5mm shaft and then a pinion. You might be able to find some that will, but I know this little one's not so keen on 5mm shafts. The larger Injora one and the KYX one that you see, they can fit 5mm in it, I believe. So anyway, this is a 3.2mm shaft, standard sort of 110 shaft on there, so that's going to go in and sit on here. That should give us a little bit more torque, quite a lot more torque than this 27 turn Tamiya can, but a little less top end, so I may well find myself running this on 3S from now on, but we'll let you know on that one. We're going to fit this now, and then we're going to go out and then we're going to go and test it. Thanks for watching, guys. First things first, I would use my drivers on here, but I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be able to get in at that angle, so I'm going to have to go in with a teeny weeny Allen key, which will be fun, won't it, taking all this off with an Allen key. Oh, there you go, it's nice and loosened up already, actually, that. Right, dudes, we actually did manage to get those bolts out with the Dead Bodies X driver, which is pretty cool. So I'm just going to go ahead and undo the little shaft here now, and then I can take the gearbox and motor off. I wonder what everybody else is working on today on this fine Tuesday. Right, so we've removed our little drive shaft there. There is 2 grub screws in there, so watch out if you are doing one of these. Now we'll go ahead and remove these silver bolts at the front with a different 2.5mm hex driver, and we can then take the motor off. Right, so now we've disassembled our gearbox from the front. You will notice, so this is obviously our front of our gearbox here, where our shaft protrudes out. You'll notice you've got basically a key on the back here, so this being your key in the middle, and then you've got this little plate that attaches to it with 3 little studs coming off, right? So those studs will then correlate to, try and do this without losing the other side of it, here. So this is basically why they call it a planetary box. This gear in the middle is your sun gear, and the whole box the gears will rotate round that sun gear like planets would, like planets orbiting the sun, hence why we call it a planetary box. You do find these commonly in drills and stuff like that. One thing I will say is these are just all fallen out, so you'll notice there they're not all sort of quite lined up properly. You will need to, if these do all fall out, you'll need to put them back in this arrangement so they line up with these keys on the back of here, yeah? If that's too much of a struggle, you can take these out and actually pop them on the studs and then pop this back on top. So let's just pour it out, because I know these will be coming back out anyway. So this is what you got on the other side. Basically this here is another one of these plates. Yeah, so you've got another one of these plates here with another 3 planetary gears, and your sun gear in this case would be your pinion. So it's basically running itself through two boxes, if you will. It goes through one planetary box that's sat on a little bevel with pins, and then it goes through basically what is another planetary box on the other side of that. Here, you see, the Injora ones work slightly differently because these have got a box and then they've got a reduction further down, almost like a portal gear. These are slightly different, obviously, because these are a straight planetary box. You do find these in the Tamiya trucks, the Lessus, the 114s and stuff like that. They are quite capable, actually. If you've ever obviously used the drill, you'll notice that they obviously do provide a lot of torque, and they're very, very reliable, which is why I use them. Which is why I've started using them more, should I say. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take this last plate off of this little poppet here, which is just 2 bolts. See there, 1, 2, and take that little washer off and the lithium grease underneath, and then we'll fit this to the new motor. Right, so we've got our last plate off. Now we just need to remove this very small grub screw in here. I believe that is, where is it? It's a 1.5 mil. It helps to have a good set of drivers as well, don't forget. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove that pinion now. Right, pinion on new motor. Easy peasy job. Make sure everything's correct. Make sure you've obviously lined your grub screw. You'll notice there's 2 holes, there's one either side. Make sure you've lined your grub screw up with the flat on the shaft, so it's not going to slip whilst it's inside the box. Make sure you use some Loctite on here, or a little dab of CA glue on the thread. Then it will come back out. If you put CA glue on there, there's nothing wrong with putting a dab of CA glue on there. Just like you would remove thread lock. A little bit of heat and it'll come straight off. So I use a little dab of CA glue. The pinion's now back on, and if we move back across, you'll see that I've started to rebuild the box as well. So you can see, as we discussed before, I've now put the 3 sun gears, the 3 planetary gears back on the first plate. I will now go ahead. You see this barrel here, you see? The barrel's grooved. So that will go back on. Line them all up like so. And you'll notice, I'll just, if I can do this, it'll give you a very good, there you go, see? And that's basically how they do it, that's how it moves. And that's how they're so reliable as well, because even though there's moving parts, the outside of the box is obviously static, so there's no issues there. You see, and here we have our second plate. That just slots straight in the middle. I can get that to sit down. That was difficult with one hand. And find our last little planetary gear there. I keep calling them sun gears. And then obviously our plate goes on like this. And then our motor goes in. That's to give us enough. That's to give us enough distance for the pinion to go in. There is actually a little hole at the end of there, so if you did have a super long shaft, you could grind it down rather than chopping it off, and that would form a nice little seat for it in there. That little hole. We don't need to do that though. Right, plate back on. Don't forget to put your washer back on as well. This has already got some lithium grease on the box still, so I don't need to put any more on. I actually run these boxes completely dry, so there's no grease or whatsoever in here. Don't need any grease in a planetary box. No place for grease in a planetary box at all, if you ask me, because in these type, so the old school type, which is the pin type like this with the pins that the gear sit on. The new type, which we all know, which you'll find in your basher, is much different. Obviously has conical shaped planetary gears that spin round. The sun gear for your centre diff in your basher, your front and rear diff. They obviously do require oil. I do not put any oil in these. If you've ever pulled your drill apart, there'll be a very light coating of PTFE film usually, and that's because crap can often get stuck in the dust and debris and stuff like that, which shortens the lifespan of all your gears. So I only use 1 squirt of PTFE silicon based lubricant. It's a no film stuff, so it doesn't leave any film at all. So even though it is PTFE based, I think it was WD-40 branded, but it's the yellow tin, so go and have a look for that. It's the silver and yellow tin if that's the stuff you're after. And we're just going to put the motor back on there, put the gearbox and motor back together now with those big long silver screws that you see there. Right, so our box is now back together. We've got all our bolts connected up. We made sure everything's nice and tight. We put a little dab of CA on every bolt that we've put in here. So now we're going to go ahead and fit this box back in its little holder there. Right, and there's the motor back in, guys, all connected back up. I will have to make a new shock tower tie-in, but to be honest with you, I was thinking of doing something over the top anyway for a while. Something a bit more permanent than this anyway. I was trying to keep it really lightweight, you see. I mean, the whole thing weighs next to nothing really, so the heaviest thing on here is obviously the portals and the motor. So, with that being said, we're now all hooked back up. I'm going to pop the wheels back on it. I'm going to hook everything up, and I'm going to go for a little test without the body, just so you can see everything working and get a good look about what this rig's about, really. Thanks very much for watching, guys, and don't forget, obviously, to check out the little running video that's following up from this one. Thanks, dudes.